The large meeting hall was completely silent. Ambassador Kelthara from the Yilnith people stepped forward. Her body was made of crystal and it glowed with many colors. She looked worried and scared. For 300 years, 47 different alien species had lived together in peace, but today peace was gone. Behind her, a large screen showed terrible pictures. Entire cities were burned to nothing. Space stations were ripped apart like paper. The Krell swarm had come from deep space without any warning. In just a few weeks, they had destroyed 12 planets where people lived. Millions were dead. Commander Zephyrak stepped up next. He was from the Kryn people, who were known as great warriors. His people had always been strong and brave. But now his 4 mouthparts clicked together nervously. His fleet had lost half of all their ships in just one battle. The Krell were not normal enemies. They were like a disease that spread and grew. Their ships were alive, made of living tissue. They learned from every attack and changed to defend against it. Every species in the big meeting had sent their best fighters. Every species had tried their best weapons. Every species had failed. The computers showed clear numbers. If the Krell kept moving forward at the same speed, they would reach the center planets in 6 months. Trillions of people would die. The entire galaxy would fall. The room was filled with fear and sadness. Leaders from all the different alien races looked at each other with desperate eyes. They had tried everything. Their best scientists could not find a solution. Their strongest weapons did nothing. The Krell just kept coming, eating everything in their path. Then Representative Voralun from the Tezcan people spoke. His voice was very quiet, almost a whisper. But somehow everyone in the huge room heard him clearly. His words made everyone stop and listen. "There is one species we have not asked for help," he said slowly. The humans. The reaction was immediate. Everyone began talking at once. Some leaders moved uncomfortably in their seats. Others made sounds of disagreement. The humans were known to everyone, but they were also feared by everyone. Humanity had been discovered 30 years ago. They came from a planet called Earth. The alien scientists had given Earth a special name. They called it a Class 12 death world. This was the highest danger rating any planet could have. It meant the planet was extremely dangerous to life. Earth was covered 70% by water. But this was not normal water. To most aliens, this water was like acid. It could dissolve their skin. The air had oxygen, which was actually poisonous to many species. The weather was violent. Lightning struck from the sky with enough power to destroy small spacecraft. The ground itself moved and shook, creating earthquakes that could level entire cities. But the worst part about Earth was the life that lived there. Almost every creature on Earth was designed to kill. The planet had predators everywhere, in the water, on the land, even in the air. These creatures hunted each other constantly. They had teeth, claws, poison, and venom. The entire planet was one big battlefield where only the strongest survived, and humans were the top predators of this nightmare world. They had evolved in this chaos. Their bodies were built for survival in the worst conditions. Humans could run for days without stopping, chasing their prey until it died from exhaustion. They ate things that would poison other species. They drank alcohol for fun, even though it was technically a toxic substance. They healed from injuries that would kill most aliens. The most terrifying thing about humans was something called adrenaline. When humans were in danger, their bodies produced this chemical. It made them faster, stronger, and able to ignore pain. A human on adrenaline could lift incredibly heavy objects. They could keep fighting even with serious injuries. They became almost unstoppable. The Galactic Assembly had been watching humans for 30 years. They studied them from far away but never made contact. Humans were too unpredictable, too violent, too dangerous. They were too young as a species. The Assembly decided it was safer to leave humans alone and just observe them from a distance. But now, everything had changed. The Krell swarm was going to destroy all life in the galaxy. Every other option had failed. The Assembly was desperate. When you are about to die, you will ask anyone for help, even if you are afraid of them. Ambassador Kelthara looked around the room. She saw fear in every face. Fear of the Krell, fear of humans, fear of what might happen next. But she also saw something else. She saw the smallest bit of hope. Maybe the Deathworlders could do what no one else could. Maybe their violence could be aimed at the right target. Maybe the very things that made humans scary could be used to save everyone. The vote was called. One by one, each species raised their agreement. Some did it quickly, already convinced. Others did it slowly, still afraid but out of options. When the final count was done, the result was clear. Every single species voted yes. It was unanimous. The Galactic Assembly would ask the humans for help. They would invite the Deathworlders to join their war. They had no choice. It was either accept help from the scary humans or watch everything die. Ambassador Kelthera was chosen to lead the mission. She would travel to human space. She would meet these frightening creatures face to face. She would ask them to save the galaxy. As she prepared to leave, she wondered what humans would say. Would they help? Would they refuse? Would they demand something in return? She had studied everything the Assembly knew about humans. She had watched videos of their wars. She had read reports about their history. Humans fought each other constantly. They had weapons that could destroy entire planets. They had built machines of war that were terrifying in their efficiency. If humans decided to help, they might actually have a chance. If humans decided to refuse, then all hope was lost. The fate of trillions now rested on the decision of a species that the galaxy had ignored for 30 years. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Valiant. He watched the alien vessel approach on the main screen. The alien ship was beautiful. It had smooth curves and glowing lights that pulsed in patterns. It looked nothing like human ships. Human ships were built like tanks covered in armor and weapons. Human ships were made to survive because space near Earth was dangerous even without enemies. Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez sat at her station, watching all the computer readings. "Captain, the alien ship has no weapons," she said. "They are sending messages on every frequency. They want to talk." Jake nodded. He had expected this. Humanity had known about the aliens for 5 years. The first contact had been strange. The aliens had sent a simple message to Earth. It said, "We are watching you. We will not interfere. Grow and develop in peace." Then the aliens had disappeared. They never answered any messages. They never came back. Humanity was left wondering if the aliens were protecting them or treating them like a zoo animal. Now the aliens were back. They wanted to talk. Jake knew what that meant. The aliens needed something. You do not ignore someone for 5 years and then show up unless you are desperate. The meeting happened in the conference room of the Valiant. Ambassador Kelthera came aboard with 2 guards. The guards looked nervous. Their hands kept moving to their weapons, even though everyone knew this was a peaceful meeting. Jake understood. Humans made aliens nervous. It was something humans had learned to accept. Kelthera was an interesting sight. Her body was crystalline and see-through. Lights moved inside her form like thoughts made visible. When she spoke, her voice came from a translation device. The device made her sound calm, but Jake could see the fear in her body language. She explained everything. The Krell swarm, the destroyed planets, the billions of dead, the failed attempts to stop them. She spoke for 20 minutes without stopping. She showed videos and data. The destruction was total. The threat was real. The Galactic Assembly was losing the war. Jake listened to all of it. He did not interrupt. He kept his face blank, showing no emotion. It was an old negotiation trick. Let the other side talk. Let them show all their cards. Then you decide what to do. When Kelthera finished, Jake leaned back in his chair. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," he said. "For 30 years you kept us isolated. You never shared technology with us. You never let us join your meetings. You never explained why. You just watched us like we were animals in a cage. Now you show up asking for help because everyone else failed." Kelthera's glow dimmed. It was the equivalent of a human looking down in shame. "Yes," she said quietly, "and I understand how that must seem to you. But Captain Morrison, please understand. We kept our distance because we were afraid. Your species frightens us. Earth frightens us. Everything about your world is wrong. It goes against everything we know about how life should work." Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up. "And yet you are here now," she said. "Because you are more afraid of the Krell than you are of us." "Yes," Kelthera admitted. "We are desperate. When you are about to die, you reconsider your fears. Will you help us?" Jake looked at his officers. Commander Ryan Chen was in charge of weapons and tactics. He gave a small nod. Dr. Lisa Kim was the ship's doctor and expert on alien life. She looked thoughtful, already planning how to treat wounded aliens. Major Carlos Diaz commanded the soldiers on the ship. He smiled. Carlos always smiled before a fight. It was his way. Jake turned back to Kelthera. "We will need everything," he said. Every piece of information you have about the Krell. How they move, how they fight, where they have been. We need to see your weapons technology. We need to understand your defense systems. And we need permission to do things our way. We will not follow orders from people who do not know how to fight. Kelthera's relief was obvious. Her glow became brighter. You will have everything you need, she said. Complete access. Full authority. Thank you, Captain Morrison. You may have just saved the galaxy. Jake stood up. He held out his hand. Kelthera had been taught about this human custom. She reached out with a crystalline appendage and touched his hand. The gesture was meant to show trust and agreement. Do not thank us yet, Ambassador, Jake said quietly. You have never seen humans fight. It is not pretty. We do not fight with honor or elegance. We fight to win, and we use every dirty trick we know. After Kelthera left, Jake gathered his senior staff. They sat around the conference table in silence for a moment. Finally, Ryan spoke up. So we are really doing this, he said. We are going to war for people who treated us like dangerous animals. Jake nodded. Yes, we are. Because it is the right thing to do. And because if we do not help, the Krell will eventually reach Earth. Better to stop them out there than in our own backyard. Dr. Kim spoke next. We should study the Krell biology, she said. Everything can be killed if you understand how it works. We need samples, recordings, anything we can get. Carlos leaned forward. And we need to train with alien forces, he said. My soldiers need to know how to work with species that are weaker and slower than us. We cannot protect them if we do not understand their limitations. Jake looked at each of them. Then we have our assignments, he said. Ryan, start analyzing their battle data. Lisa, begin your biological research. Carlos, coordinate with alien military forces. Amy, work on communications and translation systems. We move out in 72 hours. As his officers left, Jake stayed in the conference room alone. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krell were destroying entire civilizations. Soon humans would face them. Soon the galaxy would see what Deathworlders could do when they decided to protect instead of destroy. He hoped they were ready for what was coming. He hoped the galaxy understood what they had asked for. Because once humans entered a war, they did not stop until the enemy was completely defeated. That was the human way. That was the Deathworld way. The war room on the human ship Liberty was nothing like the alien tactical centers. Alien command rooms were quiet and peaceful. They had soft lights and calming colors. Everything was designed to help leaders think clearly and make careful decisions. The human war room was completely different. It was loud. Bright lights shone on multiple screens showing battle data from every angle. Officers shouted reports to each other constantly. Computers beeped and flashed with new information. The energy in the room was intense, almost violent. Everyone moved with purpose and speed. There was no calm here. This was organized chaos. Admiral Patricia Connor stood in the center of all this activity. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been fighting wars since she was 18 years old. Now at 55, she had been given command of the combined human and alien forces. She was studying the Krell data with the focus of a hunting animal watching its prey. Commander Zephyrox stood to the side watching everything. He was supposed to be the alien liaison, helping the humans understand alien military thinking, but he was learning more than teaching. The humans had only been studying the Krell for 3 days, yet they seemed to understand things that alien generals had missed for months. Admiral Connor suddenly spoke. Everyone stopped to listen. The problem is simple, she said, pointing at a 3-dimensional model of a Krell ship floating in the air. You have been fighting them like they are a military force. They are not. They are an invasive species. Dr. Kim stepped forward to explain. She had been analyzing every battle report. Every fight with the Krell shows the same pattern, she said. The Krell adapt to whatever you use against them. Energy weapons? They adapt. Missiles? They adapt. Biological weapons? They adapt. You are teaching them how to beat you with every attack. But how do we fight something that learns from everything we do? Asked Ambassador Kelthera. She had remained with the human fleet to observe their preparations. You do not give them time to adapt, said Major Carlos Diaz. He had been studying the Krell attack patterns with his soldiers. On Earth we have something called fire ants. They are tiny insects. One fire ant is nothing, but thousands of them working together can kill animals that are much bigger than them. You know how humans deal with fire ants? We flood the entire nest. We use so much force all at once that they cannot react. We do not give them time to fight back. Admiral Connor nodded and continued. The Krell spread out across many systems. They attack multiple places at the same time. This forces you to divide your forces to protect everything. But it also means they are divided. We are going to hit them hard in one system. Use everything we have. Draw them all in. Then hit them again before they can learn and adapt. Commander Zefrak made a clicking sound of disagreement. That is suicide, he said. If we put all our forces in one place, the Krell will swarm us. They will bring everything they have. We will be overwhelmed and destroyed. Not if that force is human, said Commander Ryan Chen. He was in charge of all the weapons systems. We have been preparing for total war since humans learned how to fight. Every weapon we make has one goal. Destroy the enemy before they destroy us. The Krell adapted to your energy weapons. Good. We have kinetic weapons. Metal rods that we shoot at nearly the speed of light. By the time the Krell see them coming, it is too late to adapt. They just die. The Krell adapted to your guided missiles? Ryan continued. We have dumb rockets. Thousands of them. They have no computer guidance. No electronics. Just fuel and explosives. The Krell cannot hack them or confuse them. They just fly straight and explode. You fought them with careful, precise strikes. We are going to carpet bomb them. Drop so many explosives that nothing survives. The alien officers looked very uncomfortable. This was not how they understood war. Their wars were controlled, civilized. They used only the force necessary. They tried to minimize damage. This human approach was brutal, overwhelming, without mercy. I understand your concerns, Admiral Connor said. Her voice was softer now. This is going to be ugly. People will die. Many people. On both sides. But the Krell are not giving us a choice. They are an extinction threat. Either we stop them or everyone dies. So we are going to fight them the way Earth taught us, with everything we have, holding nothing back, using every weapon and every tactic until one side cannot fight anymore. She turned back to the screens showing the tactical data. We have 72 hours, she said. I want every ship ready, every weapon loaded, every soldier prepared. This is what humanity was made for. Time to show the galaxy what Deathworlders can do when we fight for something that matters. The room exploded into activity. Officers ran to their stations. Messages were sent to every human ship in the fleet. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Battle plans were written and rewritten. The humans moved like a machine, every person knowing their job perfectly. Commander Zefrak watched all this with growing understanding. He had thought humans were just violent and aggressive. Now he saw the truth. Humans were not violent for the sake of violence. They were efficient. They studied their enemies. They planned carefully. Then they executed those plans with absolute commitment. When humans decided to fight, they did not fight halfway. They committed everything. Ambassador Kelthera approached Admiral Connor privately. You truly believe this will work? She asked. You have seen the reports. The Krell have destroyed entire fleets. What makes you think humans can do what we could not? Admiral Connor looked at her. Because you tried to fight them fairly, she said. You used appropriate force. You followed the rules of war. Humans learned long ago that there are no rules when your survival is at stake. We will use every advantage. We will be faster, meaner, and more ruthless than the Krell. We will hit them so hard and so fast that adaptation will not matter. That is how Deathworlders fight. We do not hope to win. We make sure we win. The next 3 days were intense. Human engineers worked with alien scientists to understand Krell biology better. Soldiers trained in mixed units, learning how to protect the weaker alien troops. Pilots practiced attack formations. Every person had a job. Every person knew that failure meant the end of everything. On the final night before the attack, Jake Morrison found Admiral Connor alone in her office. Are we ready? He asked. No, she said honestly. We will never be completely ready, but we are as ready as we can be. Tomorrow, we find out if Deathworld tactics work against an enemy that adapts to everything. Tomorrow we show the Krell what happens when they threaten humanity's new friends. Jake smiled. Earth made us into survivors, he said. Let us show them what survivors can do. 3 weeks ago, Zendari Station had been full of life. Thousands of aliens lived and worked there. Traders sold goods from across the galaxy. Families raised children. People had dreams and hopes. Now the station was empty. Everyone had been evacuated secretly. But the station still looked alive from the outside. All the lights were on. Automated systems sent out normal traffic signals. To anyone watching, it would seem like a normal, busy station. To the Krell, it looked like an easy target. The human fleet waited in the shadow of a massive gas giant planet. The planet's atmosphere created interference that hid them from sensors. 37 human ships of all sizes floated in perfect silence. There were small, fast destroyers, medium-sized cruisers, and massive carriers that held hundreds of fighter craft. This was a large part of Earth's entire space navy, all committed to one single battle. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Valiant. His eyes never left the tactical screen. The Krell were coming. Over 200 of their bioships were approaching the station. The ships pulsed with light as they communicated with each other. It was beautiful in a horrible way, like watching a swarm of luminescent jellyfish swimming through space. "All ships are ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez. "Weapons are armed. Engines are hot. We can launch on your command." "Not yet," Jake said quietly. "Let them get closer. Let them commit to the attack. We only get one chance to surprise them." The Krell ships surrounded Zendari Station like wolves circling prey. Long tendrils extended from their living hulls and attached to the station. They would drain all the resources. They would absorb all the metal and organic material. They would add it to their own mass and grow stronger. They had done this exact thing dozens of times before. They had no reason to think this time would be different. On the Liberty, Admiral Connor watched the same tactical display. The Krell were in position. They were focused on the station. They had no idea what was about to happen. She keyed the fleet-wide channel. "All ships," she said. "Execute attack pattern Delta. Fire at will." The human fleet exploded from behind the gas giant like a pack of wolves breaking from cover. The first weapons to fire were the kinetic kill vehicles. These were simple weapons, just very dense metal shaped like telephone poles, but they were accelerated to 30% of the speed of light. At that speed, they did not need explosives. The kinetic energy alone was enough to destroy anything. The first volley crossed the distance in seconds. The Krell never saw them coming. One moment, the bioships were peacefully feeding on the station. The next moment, dozens of them simply ceased to exist. The kinetic weapons tore through their organic hulls like paper. The impacts released so much energy that the destroyed ships just vaporized. There was nothing left but glowing gas. The surviving Krell tried to scatter. They had learned from previous battles that spreading out made them harder to hit. But the humans had predicted this. The second wave of weapons hit from 3 different directions at once. Thousands of missiles filled the space between the human fleet and the Krell. These were not smart missiles that could be hacked or confused. These were dumb rockets. They just flew straight and exploded. The space around Zendari Station became a wall of fire and explosions. On the Valiant, Jake was calling out targets rapidly. "Hit the clusters," he ordered. "Do not let them group together. Keep them scattered and reacting." The bridge crew moved in perfect coordination. Someone called out a target. Another person calculated the firing solution. A third person fired the weapons. Then they immediately moved to the next target. It was a deadly dance they had practiced thousands of times. Major Carlos Diaz watched from the Liberty as his Marines launched their attack. While the main fleet kept the Krell busy, specialized assault shuttles were moving toward the larger bioships. These larger ships seemed to coordinate the smaller ones. If they could destroy the coordinators, the rest of the Krell would become confused and disorganized. The Marines wore powered armor that made them look like walking tanks. They breached the hulls of the Krell ships with explosive charges. Then they moved through the organic corridors with flamethrowers and more explosives. The inside of a Krell ship was disgusting. The walls were wet and pulsing like living flesh. The air was thick and hard to breathe. But the Marines did not hesitate. They moved through each ship systematically, destroying everything they found. The Krell fought back hard. They were not helpless. They began to adapt to the kinetic weapons. Their hulls started to harden and thicken. Some of the bioships began growing armor plating. But adaptation took time, and time was something the humans were not giving them. For every ship that managed to adapt, 3 more were destroyed before they could. Commander Ryan Chen coordinated the weapons fire across the entire fleet. He had planned this attack for days. Every ship had specific targets. Every weapon was fired in a specific sequence. The goal was to keep the Krell constantly reacting. Never let them settle. Never let them think. Just keep hitting them until they broke. Lieutenant Rodriguez monitored the damage reports. 3 of the human destroyers had been destroyed. 2 carriers were damaged but still fighting. Hundreds of crew members were dead or wounded. The cost was high, but it was working. The Krell were being pushed back. They were losing. The battle lasted for 4 hours. 4 hours of constant fighting. 4 hours of explosions and weapons fire. 4 hours of humans doing what they did best. Fighting, surviving, winning. When it was finally over, the tactical displays showed the results. Of the 200 Krell bioships that had entered the system, fewer than 30 escaped. The rest were destroyed. Zendari Station was damaged but intact. The human fleet had won, but the victory felt heavy. Jake looked at the casualty list on his screen. 3 ships lost, 743 humans dead, over 2,000 wounded. These were people he knew. People who had families. People who had trusted him to lead them. Admiral Connor's voice came over the communication system. All ships return to formation. We will hold position here and conduct rescue operations. Medical teams begin evacuation of wounded personnel. All hands, well done. You proved today that the Krell can be beaten. The alien observers who had watched the battle were silent. They had never seen warfare like this. It was brutal, efficient, overwhelming. The humans had not tried to be honorable or merciful. They had simply tried to win, using every weapon and every tactic they had, and it had worked. Commander Zephyrak approached Admiral Connor on the Liberty. You did it, he said. His voice held a mix of respect and fear. You actually beat them. We won 1 battle, Connor said, but the war is not over. The Krell will learn from this. They will adapt. Next time will be harder, but now we know it is possible. Now we have hope. Kelthera watched the human ships moving in formation. They were damaged, scarred, but still moving, still fighting. For the first time since the Krell had appeared, she felt something she had not felt in months. She felt hope. After the victory at Zendari Station, the war against the Krell continued. But everything had changed. The aliens of the Galactic Assembly had seen proof that the Krell could be beaten. More importantly, they had seen how humans fought. News of the battle spread quickly through the galaxy. Some species were impressed. Others were frightened. All of them were grateful. The human fleet did not slow down. Admiral Connor used the momentum from the first victory. She ordered her forces to attack 3 more Krell-occupied systems in quick succession. Each battle followed the same pattern. Overwhelming force. No time for the Krell to adapt. Hit them hard, hit them fast, then move to the next target. The Krell tried to change their tactics. They stopped attacking individual systems and started grouping their forces together. They thought larger numbers would protect them. The humans adapted too. If the Krell wanted to group up, the humans would bring even more firepower. Each battle became bigger and more intense than the last. The alien forces of the Galactic Assembly learned from watching the humans fight. They started using more aggressive tactics. They stopped trying to minimize casualties and started focusing on winning. Some alien commanders felt uncomfortable with this approach. War was supposed to be civilized, but as one human officer said, there is nothing civilized about extinction. Major Carlos Diaz set up a training program. Human Marines taught alien soldiers how to fight in close quarters, how to breach enemy positions, how to move under fire. The alien soldiers were not as strong or as fast as humans, but they learned quickly. They learned to use cover. They learned to work in teams. They learned to be aggressive instead of defensive. Dr. Lisa Kim worked with alien medical staff. She taught them about human combat medicine, how to treat wounds quickly in dangerous situations, how to keep soldiers fighting even when injured. The alien doctors were shocked by some of the procedures. Humans could survive injuries that would kill most species, but the techniques worked. Alien casualty rates started dropping. 6 months after the first battle, the combined forces had pushed the Krell back to their starting point. The dark nebula where they had first emerged was now the target. The assembly wanted to attack immediately, but Admiral Connor insisted on careful planning. The nebula was the Krell's home territory. It would be the hardest battle yet. Captain Jake Morrison commanded a scout mission into the nebula. The Valiant entered carefully, sensors on maximum range. What they found was shocking. The nebula was not just a hiding place. It was a nursery. Thousands of young Krell bioships were growing in the dense gas clouds, and at the center of the nebula was something enormous. The hive structure was bigger than a moon. It was organic like all Krell technology, but it was also clearly artificial. This was where the Krell came from. This was their source. Commander Ryan Chen analyzed the sensor data and delivered bad news. If we do not destroy that structure, the Krell will just keep coming. We could fight them for decades and never win. We have to end this here. The final battle plan was simple but dangerous. The fleet would enter the nebula in 3 groups. One group would engage the adult Krell ships. Another would destroy the young bioships before they could mature. The third group, led by the Valiant, would attack the hive structure directly. It would be the biggest military operation in galactic history. Over 300 ships from 20 different species, tens of thousands of soldiers and crew members. Everyone knew that many would not return, but everyone also knew it had to be done. The night before the attack, Jake found Admiral Connor in her office. She was writing letters. Letters to the families of soldiers who would die tomorrow. It was something she did before every major battle. She looked up when Jake entered. "Cannot sleep either?" she asked. Jake shook his head. "I keep thinking about all the things that could go wrong," he said. "What if the hive is too well defended? What if we cannot break through?" Connor set down her pen. "Then we die trying," she said simply. "Jake, do you know why the Assembly asked humans for help? Not because we are stronger or smarter. Because we do not give up. Earth taught us that survival means fighting even when the odds are impossible. Tomorrow we show the galaxy what that means." The battle for the nebula lasted 12 hours. It was chaos. The nebula's gas clouds made sensors unreliable. Ships appeared and disappeared in the swirling mist. Weapons fire lit up the darkness like lightning in a storm. The Krell fought desperately to protect their hive. The Valiant led the attack on the hive structure. The massive bioconstruct was protected by layers of thick armor and defensive weapons. Jake's crew fired everything they had. Kinetic weapons punched holes in the outer shell. Missiles created explosions deep inside the structure. But it was not enough. The hive was regenerating faster than they could damage it. "We need to get inside," Commander Chen said. "Hit it from within where the armor is weaker." Jake made the decision immediately. "Major Diaz, take your Marines in, find the core and destroy it." Carlos smiled his familiar pre-battle smile. "On our way, Captain." The Marines fought their way deep into the hive structure. The organic corridors tried to close behind them. Defensive organisms attacked them constantly, but the Marines pushed forward. They planted explosive charges on every critical structure they found. When they reached what seemed to be the core, a massive pulsing chamber that looked like a heart, Carlos planted the largest charge they had. "All teams, fall back," he ordered. "We have 5 minutes to get clear." The Marines ran back the way they had come. Some did not make it. Some were cut off by closing passages. Some stayed behind to hold position so others could escape. These were sacrifices they accepted. This was what soldiers did. The explosion lit up the entire nebula. The hive structure came apart from the inside. Secondary explosions rippled through the massive bioconstruct as critical systems failed. Within minutes, the entire structure was breaking apart. The adult Krell ship stopped moving. Without the hive, they had no direction, no purpose. They began to drift aimlessly. The fleet mopped up the remaining Krell forces. It took another 3 hours. When it was finally over, when the last Krell ship was destroyed, there was a long moment of silence. Then across all the ships of the combined fleet, people began to cheer. They had done it. The Krell were defeated. The galaxy was safe, but the cheering on human ships was quieter, more subdued. Humans knew the cost of victory. They always counted their dead before they celebrated. On the Liberty, Admiral Connor looked at the casualty reports. 18 ships lost, over 5,000 dead, twice that many wounded. The price had been high, but they had saved trillions of lives. Ambassador Kelthera approached her on the observation deck. "We won," she said. Her crystalline form glowed brighter than ever before. "Because of you. Because humans came when we asked. We came because it was right," Connor said, "and because leaving the Krell alive would have eventually threatened Earth. Sometimes the right thing to do is also the smart thing." Kelthera was silent for a moment. Then she said something that Connor would never forget. "We were wrong to fear you. What we should have done was be your friend from the beginning." 3 months after the final battle, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Assembly. The chamber was enormous. It could hold representatives from all 47 member species comfortably. Today, it was completely full. Everyone had come to witness this historic moment. The chamber walls were decorated with symbols from each species, art and technology from 100 different cultures. It was beautiful. But today, there was something new. A space had been left empty on purpose. A space that would soon hold a symbol from Earth. Admiral Patricia Connor stood beside Jake. She wore her formal uniform, the one with all her medals. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was there too, along with Commander Ryan Chen and Dr. Lisa Kim. Major Carlos Diaz had made it as well, though he walked with a slight limp from an injury that was still healing. They represented humanity today. They were the face Earth showed to the galaxy. Ambassador Kelthera stepped forward to address the assembly. Her voice was broadcast through translators so every species could understand. 9 months ago, she began, we faced extinction. The Krell swarm was destroying everything in its path. We tried every weapon we had. We used every tactic we knew. We failed. In our desperation, we turned to a species we had kept isolated for 3 decades. A species that frightened us. A species from a death world. She paused, letting her words sink in. We asked the humans for help, and they gave it. Not because they owed us anything. Not for trade or territory. They helped us simply because it was the right thing to do. They fought beside us. They bled beside us. They died beside us. And because of them, we are still here. Kelthera turned to face the human delegation. Today, we correct a mistake that should never have been made. Today, we welcome humanity as full members of the Galactic Assembly. Today, we acknowledge that Earth and its people have earned their place among the stars. The vote was called. One by one, each species indicated their agreement. There was no debate, no discussion. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, a Death World species would be a full member of the Assembly. Admiral Connor stepped forward to accept on behalf of humanity. She did not read from prepared notes. She spoke from her heart. We accept this honor with humility and gratitude, she said. But I want to be clear about something. We did not fight the Krell to earn membership in this assembly. We fought because people were dying. We fought because it was necessary. We fought because Earth taught us to protect those who cannot protect themselves. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as she could. Humans are not perfect. We are aggressive and stubborn. We solve problems with force when other options might exist. Earth made us into survivors, and survival often requires violence. But we also know compassion. We know sacrifice. We know that strength means nothing if you do not use it to help others. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Connor continued. The Krell proved that. There will be other threats in the future, other enemies, other challenges. When those times come, humanity will stand with you. We will fight with you. We will do whatever is necessary to protect the peace we all want. That is our promise. That is what it means to be a Death Worlder. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Representatives from dozens of species wanted to meet the humans. Some came to express gratitude. Some came with trade proposals. Some came simply out of curiosity. What were these Death Worlders really like when they were not fighting? Jake found himself talking with Commander Zephyrak. The Kryn warrior had become something of a friend during the war. Your species fascinates me, Zephyrak said. You can be so gentle and caring one moment, then completely ruthless the next. How do you balance these two sides? Jake thought about this for a moment. We do not see them as two different sides, he said. Humans believe that you can be kind to your friends and terrible to your enemies. The key is knowing which is which. We protected you because we saw you as friends. We destroyed the Krell because they were threats to our friends. Both actions came from the same place. Dr. Kim was talking with several alien scientists. They wanted to know more about human biology. How did humans heal so quickly? How did adrenaline work? Why could humans survive in such extreme conditions? Lisa tried to explain, but she kept running into the same problem. Human biology did not make sense to aliens. It was too aggressive, too efficient, too focused on survival. One alien scientist asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Are all death worlds like Earth? Are there other species out there like humans? Lisa shook her head. Earth is unique even among death worlds. Most high-gravity or dangerous planets produce 1 or 2 dominant species. Earth produced thousands of predator species, all competing with each other. Humans did not just survive Earth, we thrived on it. We turned its dangers into advantages. That is what makes us unusual. Major Carlos was talking with alien military officers. They wanted to learn human tactics. They wanted training programs. They wanted to understand how humans fought so effectively. Carlos smiled his familiar smile. Tactics are just tools, he said. The real secret is mindset. You have to believe you will win. You have to commit completely. You cannot fight halfway and expect to succeed. Later that evening, the human delegation gathered in their quarters. They were exhausted but satisfied. Today had been historic. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They were part of something bigger, so what happens now? Asked Amy. We go back to Earth and tell everyone we are part of a galactic civilization? That is exactly what we do, Admiral Connor said. But we also start building. Earth needs more ships, more training facilities, more infrastructure. The galaxy is counting on us to be their protectors. We need to be ready. Do you think there will be more wars? Ryan asked. Probably, Connor admitted. Peace is always temporary, but now we have allies. Now we have friends. When the next threat comes, we will not face it alone, and neither will they. Jake walked to the window and looked out at space. Somewhere out there, Earth was orbiting its yellow sun. People were going about their normal lives. They had no idea how much things had changed. Soon, they would learn that humanity was part of something greater. Soon, Earth would look up at the stars and see not just empty space, but neighbors and allies. Ambassador Kelthera found Admiral Connor alone later. I wanted to thank you personally, she said. Not just for winning the war, but for showing us what humanity really is. We spent 30 years being afraid of you. Now I understand that we should have spent those years getting to know you. Connor smiled. Fear is natural. Humans feared you too at first. We wondered if you saw us as dangerous animals. We wondered if you would ever accept us. But fear can be overcome. Understanding replaces fear. And friendship replaces understanding. The galaxy has a saying now, Kelthera said. When you are in trouble, call the Deathworlders. They will come. They will fight. They will not stop until you are safe. That is your legacy. Connor looked at her new friend. That is not a bad legacy, she said. Earth made us into fighters, but we choose to fight for others. That choice defines us more than our ability to fight ever could. Back on Earth, the news was spreading. Humanity was part of the Galactic Assembly. Humans had fought and won a war to save alien species. Children looked up at the night sky with wonder. Adults talked about new possibilities. Scientists dreamed of what they could learn. Engineers planned what they could build. The Death World had come home to the stars, and the stars welcomed them not despite what they were, but because of it. The galaxy had asked for help. The Deathworlders had taken action, and in doing so they had changed everything. The age of isolation was over. The age of cooperation had begun. Humanity had finally found its place in the universe.